Talks T.M.I. Transformation, Motivation, Inspiration. Hello, and thank you for joining me. The world is changing right before our very eyes, and it will continue to do so as it always has since its beginning. Some will see change and accept it, and then there are others who will reject it. At that point, ask yourself, are you fully aware of everything that is happening around you as well as inside of you? Or in another way to ask, your awareness, is it your soul speaking or your ego? This is where awareness should be at the forefront of who we are and how we act and react. Let me begin by explaining what awareness is. Awareness is the ability to perceive, feel, or be conscious of events, objects, thoughts, emotions, or sensory patterns. It is a state of mind in which one can pay attention to what's happening internally, like thoughts and feelings, and externally, like sounds, sights, or the environment, in a mindful and often reflective way. This awareness can happen on many levels, such as basic sensory awareness, which is the raw perception of stimuli, like seeing colors, hearing sounds, or feeling temperature. It is also self-awareness, where the understanding of oneself, such as being aware of your thoughts, emotions, motivations, and how you interact with others, determines your ability to know yourself fully. It plays a conscious role in personal growth and emotional regulation. Then there is situational awareness, which refers to understanding your surroundings and being mindful of your social and physical environment, like knowing who's around, what's happening, and anticipating what might happen next. This is meta-awareness, sometimes called awareness of awareness, and is the ability to reflect on one's state of perception, recognizing that you are aware and thinking about your thoughts or actions. Awareness is a foundation of conscious thought and allows us to respond intentionally to our experiences rather than reacting automatically. Again, reactive and proactive. The soul is often thought of as the essence of a person, the core self that defines one's consciousness, personality, and moral character. Ideas about the soul vary widely across cultures, religions, philosophies, and even in psychology. But here are some common perspectives. In spiritual and religious views and traditions, the soul is considered an internal, immaterial part of a person that exists beyond the physical body. It is often believed to live on after death, transitioning to an afterlife, reincarnating, or merging with a divine source. For example, in Christianity, the soul is believed to be a unique creation by God, carrying an individual's eternal identity. In Hinduism and Buddhism, the soul undergoes cycles of rebirth, with karma influencing its journey through lifetimes. In philosophical views, philosophers have long debated the nature of the soul. Plato viewed the soul as the true self, separate from the body and immortal. Aristotle saw the soul as the essence of being alive, with different souls for different life forms, humans, animals, and plants. In psychological and secular perspectives, some people interpret the soul as a metaphor for a person's inner life, moral compass, or a sense of self. In this view, the soul is not a literal entity, but rather an expression of qualities like empathy, love, creativity, and consciousness that make someone feel uniquely themselves. From a scientific perspective, science does not provide direct evidence for an immaterial soul, but some researchers study consciousness, self-awareness, and the sense of self to understand these qualities without reference to a separate soul entity. The soul in this context is sometimes considered an evolving property of the mind and body. The soul then can be understood as an effort to describe the mysterious, intangible aspects of human existence that go beyond mere biology or thought, addressing deep questions of identity, purpose, and continuity beyond physical life. Whereas the ego is typically understood as the sense of self that defines our identity, the part of our consciousness that experiences and interprets the world as I or me. It organizes our perceptions, thoughts, memories, and values to give us a coherent sense of who we are. There are a few ways the ego is interpreted across psychology, philosophy, and spiritual traditions. In the psychological view, Sigmund Freud described the ego as one part of the mind's three-part structure, which also includes the id and the superego. The id is the part of the mind driven by primal desires, impulses, and immediate gratification. The superego is the internalized sense of morality, societal expectations, and ethical standards. The ego is the part that mediates between the id and the superego, balancing desires and morals to navigate reality. The ego operates with reason, trying to find realistic ways to satisfy the id's needs within the bounds of the superego's ideals. Between the two, the philosophical view and the spiritual view, the ego is often seen as the mind's concept of selfhood and personal identity. It is the sense of being an individual with distinct thoughts, experiences, and autonomy. Some philosophers will argue that the ego, or the concept of I, is an illusion, suggesting that our sense of separate self may be a construct of consciousness rather than an actual entity. In the spiritual view, many spiritual traditions see the ego as a limited, often distorted sense of self that can lead to attachment, selfishness, and suffering. In these traditions, Buddhism teaches that the ego, or the sense of an independent self, is an illusion, and overcoming this illusion can lead to enlightenment and freedom from suffering. In Hinduism, it describes the ego as an attachment to personal identity, which obscures the true self that is interconnected with the divine. In modern spirituality, the ego is often viewed as something to be transcended. It is seen as a false self or a mask that, when overcome, allows for a deeper, greater connection to others and a deeper understanding of one's true nature. The everyday understanding of the ego is often used to describe someone's pride, self-importance, or self-esteem. A big ego is a personality trait where a person is overly focused on themselves, their image, or their importance. In conclusion, the ego is the personal sense of I, shaping our identity and our way of interacting with the world. It can be a useful tool for navigating life, but depending on the viewpoint, it may also create limitations, attachments, and distortions that prevent us from fully connecting with reality or with others. In practice, distinguishing whether it's the soul or ego speaking can be challenging, especially since both influence our thoughts and perceptions. To sum it up, ego awareness tends to be more reactive, driven by past experiences, judgments, and a desire for security or approval. It often feels like it's talking to you in the form of thoughts that revolve around me, I, and my needs. If you feel like this awareness is tied to personal concerns, judgments, or desires, it's likely the ego. Soul awareness is more expansive, grounded, and peaceful. It might come through as a deep knowing or intuition without the need for constant analysis. It speaks from a place of acceptance, love, and alignment with a larger purpose for truth. If it feels expansive, compassionate, and grounded in something beyond the personal self, it's more likely the soul. Now that I have briefly explained this, my question to you again is regarding your awareness. Is it your soul or your ego speaking? Only you can answer that. But if we are going to have a better world, a world where there is unity, peace, and above all love, then this is a very deep question you should answer for yourself if you care to. Look within. Continue to bring out the love that is inside of you, and understand that we are all on this journey together. What you do affects us all. It creates a ripple effect that can either still the waters or create chaos. We all are creators, co-creating together. If we are going to have a healthy world for our children, our elderly, our young, women and men alike, even ourselves, let your awareness speak from the soul and not from the ego. Until next time, peace, hugs, and love. Goodbye.